Welcome to the Bootstrap Mogul Podcast, where we bring you the grassroots tips, tricks, and stories in everything entrepreneurship, digital marketing, and personal development. I'm your host, Andres Holguin. Hey there, my friend. Welcome back to another empowering episode of the Bootstrap Mogul Podcast. I'm your host, Andres Holguin, and oh my goodness, am I thrilled to have you with me today. Now, if you've been on this entrepreneurial journey with me for a while, a heartfelt thank you for your continued support. If you're new here, well, you picked the perfect episode to jump in. Trust me on this. All right, are we ready? Okay. Imagine it's Friday evening, you're wrapping up your week, and a business idea pops into your head. It feels like a lightning bolt, electrifying your soul, and you think, could I actually turn this into a business, like soon? My friends, what if I told you that by Sunday night, that dream could be your reality? Yes, you heard it right. Today's episode is all about how you can launch like a pro and create your MVP in a weekend. Now, when I say MVP, I mean minimum viable product, but hold on, don't get too caught up on the product part. This isn't just for those looking to create a physical or digital product. Oh no, today's episode has got something for everyone. You see, the concept of an MVP is universal. Whether you're eyeing to launch a coaching program, develop an online course, offer consulting services, or even drop ship some nifty gadgets, an MVP is your fast pass to the entrepreneurial roller coaster. And believe me, it's a ride you want to be on. So what's on the menu today? Well, we're going to dive deep into actionable steps you can take no matter your industry or business model. We're talking about validating your idea like a pro, figuring out what essential features or service elements you need, deciding if you should DIY or bring in some helping hands, and of course, how to gather game-changing feedback. But that's not all. Throughout this episode, I will be sharing some awe-inspiring real-world success stories from a variety of fields: coaching, courses, physical products, and more. These stories are not just to get you pumped, although they will. They're to show you that if you can do it, and if they can do it, so can you. And let's be honest, who doesn't love a good success story? Now, before we dive into this treasure trove of entrepreneurial wisdom, let me remind you to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. We have a slew of incredible topics lined up that you won't want to miss. And hey, if this podcast has been adding value to your life, consider leaving us a review. It's like a virtual high five, and you know I'm all about those. All right, are you buckled in? Because we're about to embark on a transformative journey to launch your MVP and take those first exhilarating steps towards the business of your dreams. Let's get to it. So now that you're pumped to create your very own MVP, let's get into the nitty-gritty of why MVPs are the bread and butter of a successful business launch. Now, I know the term MVP often conjures images of tech nerds huddled in a garage, churning out the next billion-dollar app. And sure, that's one way to look at it. But today, let's pull back the curtains and unveil the broader landscape of MVPs. Trust me, when I say this concept isn't just for Silicon Valley, it's for Main Street, it's for the coaching industry, it's for online educators, and yes, it's for you. Now let's take it down a notch and get a little reflective. Ask yourself, why do you think businesses, no matter how grand their vision, start with something smaller, more manageable? It's like that age-old saying, Rome wasn't built in a day, right? Businesses are the same. You don't build a skyscraper without laying the first brick. Although skyscrapers aren't really made with bricks anymore, but let's just go with it. Okay, let's relate this to your business. Picture this. You're an aspiring life coach. You've got all these modules and lesson plans swirling in your mind. You even envision a grand platform where people can log in, interact, and go through your meticulously designed 12-week program. That's fantastic, but let's pump the brakes a little. What if you could start with just one foundational coaching session? That's your MVP. Use it to gauge the waters. Do people feel transformed? What's the feedback like? Armed with this intel, you are better poised to create that grand platform. Baby steps. Or let's say you're an e-commerce enthusiast and you've identified this super cool kitchen gadget that, just know will be a hit. Rather than ordering 10,000 units, could you start by drop shipping just a couple hundred? Learn how the market reacts, iron out the kinks in your customer service, and then, only then, scale it up. Makes sense, right? You see, the beauty of an MVP is that it allows you to get started without getting overwhelmed. It's like a sampler platter at your favorite restaurant. I love the samplers at Denny's. Brings me so many good childhood memories. You get to try a little bit of everything without stuffing yourself. So whether you're looking to launch an intricate online course, offer specialized consulting services, or even if you're itching to get into the dropshipping game, remember this. An MVP is your starting point. It's your opportunity to experiment, gather feedback, and take those crucial first steps towards building the empire of your dreams. Now you might be thinking, Andres, this sounds incredible, but how do I actually go about creating my MVP? Now don't you worry, because we're getting into all of that and more as we roll through this episode. But for now, marinate on this universal truth. An MVP is not just a step, it's the step that catapults your business aspirations from daydream to action. And hey, action is where the magic really happens. Okay, so take a deep breath. I know that was a lot to take in, but hang tight, my friends. Up next, we're diving into the mindset shifts you need to make to bring your MVP to life. And let me tell you, it's going to be transformative. So now that we've established the why behind the MVP, I bet you're itching for some real world examples. We're talking about tangible, oh my gosh, they did it, so can I kind of stories. And I have some treats for you. So let's kick things off with the story from the world of software solutions. Ever heard of Dropbox? Of course you have, but did you know that it started as a super simple MVP? Drew Houston, the founder, initially created a basic video explaining how Dropbox would work without even building the full thing. He just wanted to gauge interest. And the result? A wait list of 75,000 people overnight. Yes, Dropbox didn't build a fully functional, platform before knowing if people would use it. They started with the minimum, just enough to show the idea, and look at where they are now. If they can do it, why can't you? Okay, switching gears to something maybe a little closer to home for some of you, coaching programs. Now picture this, a life coach who wanted to help people find their true calling. Rather than developing an exhaustive 12-week program right out the gate, she started with a 2-hour webinar, just 2 hours. And guess what? It was a hit. The feedback was phenomenal, and armed with that feedback, she went on to develop her flagship program. I really like this example because it showcases the power of starting small. A 2-hour webinar might sound modest, but it gave her the validation and confidence she needed to go big. And that is the power of an MVP. So here's another gem, this one from the realm of physical products. Picture an entrepreneur captivated by sustainable fashion. Instead of launching a full-blown clothing line, she introduced a single eco-friendly t-shirt. She poured her heart into it, perfecting the design, ensuring the quality, all of it. The t-shirt was a sensation, leading to a full collection that is now a hallmark of sustainable fashion. Now, are you starting to see the pattern here? Each of these success stories took an idea and stripped it down to its most essential elements. They didn't get lost in the what ifs or the but first I need tos. They took action, put something valuable in the world, collected feedback, refined, and then, only then, did they scale. So whether you're in tech, coaching, fashion, or any field under the sun, the MVP model is your friend. It's your way to dip your toes into the entrepreneurial waters without diving headlong into the deep end. And trust me, those waters are warm and welcoming when you take the MVP route. So let's soak this all in. We're not just talking about ideas here. We're talking about, actionable steps inspired by real life champions of the MVP approach. And, stay tuned because we're going to be diving into the nitty gritty of how you can create your very own MVP. Now that we've established that why and some of the stories, let's talk a little bit about, some of the challenges that we face. and in our mindset as well. Look, it doesn't matter if you're launching a coaching service, a software tool, or a handcrafted line of eco-friendly soap. The mindset roadblocks, they are often the same across the board. So let's address them head on. First up, procrastination. Now, I've been there and I'm sure you have too. You've got this killer idea, and what do? You sit on it. You tell yourself you're waiting for the perfect moment. Well, let me let you in on a little secret. The perfect moment is a myth. Procrastination isn't a time management issue, it's an emotional one. It's a safety net that keeps us from facing the possibility of failure or criticism. But here's the real kicker. By not starting, you're failing by default. So let's shift that mindset. Let's view action, any action, as a win in itself. Next up is fear. The dreaded F word in entrepreneurship. Fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of not being good enough. Well, guess what? Everyone feels fear. It's how you handle it that sets you apart. Remember, an MVP is designed to be a learning experience. It's not supposed to be perfect. It's supposed to be instructive. So here's my challenge to you. Replace fear with curiosity. Instead of worrying about what could go wrong, start getting excited about what you could learn. Maybe your MVP won't be a runway success. So what? Every piece of feedback, every hiccup, every little oops is a stepping stone on your entrepreneurial journey. Okay, let's put it all together. Procrastination and fear, they're not roadblocks, they're signposts that you're onto something that matters. So don't shy away from them. Dive in, tackle them head on, transform that procrastination into preparation and that fear into fuel. I promise you, once you shift your mindset and look these challenges in the eye, launching your MVP will feel less like a mountain and more like a molehill. And you know what we do with molehills, right? We climb right over them. All right, champions, stay tuned because we're about to get into the good stuff, the actionable steps to create your MVP no matter what business you're in. You're not going to want to miss this. Now, if you're just tuning in, you've landed on an incredible episode all about creating your minimal viable product or MVP in a weekend. Yep, you heard that right, just one weekend. But hold up, before we put the pedal to the metal, we've got to talk about the most foundational step, idea validation. What is that, Andres? You might be asking. Well, it's making sure that your, oh my gosh, this is an amazing idea, actually has a market that's willing to pay for it. And let's be real, your idea might be golden. It could be the proverbial diamond in the rough. But if there's no one interested in buying it, then you're mining for gold in the wrong place. So let's dive into a no-fail idea validation process. Step 1, conduct a little competitor research. That's right, put on your sleuthing hat and look at what's already out there. If there are businesses offering similar things, that's not necessarily a bad thing. It means there's a market. Step 2, get out there and talk to potential customers. I mean it, actually talk. You can set up quick surveys, jump on social media, or even reach out to your existing network. Ask what they're looking for in a product like yours. What are some of the challenges they face, and what would make them whip out their wallet? And finally, step 3, create a mini version of your product or service. This could be a free webinar, a sample chapter of your course, or a limited version of your software. The goal? To gauge interest and get feedback. Now, I know what you're thinking, Andres, this sounds like a lot of work. And trust me, the more you validate upfront, the less time and money you're going to waste down the line. It's like laying down the bricks for a sturdy, impenetrable fortress. Skip this step and you're building on quicksand, my friend. All right, so now that we've covered how to make sure your idea has wings, up next we're diving into how do we actually craft that MVP. So, if you've been hanging with me this far, you know that your business concept is not just a pie in the sky dream, it's also got legs. So before you go building the Taj Mahal of coaching programs or the iPhone 23 of your niche, we have to talk about something that's absolutely key. I'm talking about prioritizing your product features or service elements. In other words, what is truly essential? Look, whether you're crafting a physical product, a dazzling digital course, or a swoon-worthy service, understanding what to focus on first can mean the difference between a launching pad and a launching dud. So step 1, make a list. Write down all the features or elements you're considering. This is your dream list, so go wild. Then, next to each feature, write down the problem it solves for your customer. If you can't think of a specific problem it addresses, that's your first red flag. Step 2, prioritize. I want you to star the top 3 features or elements that are absolute game changers. These are non-negotiable and deliver the most value. They're like the cornerstone of a building. Everything else leans on them. Step 3, validate again. Yes, you heard me. Take those top features or elements and validate them specifically. So do a quick poll on your social media or ask for feedback from potential customers. Remember, an MVP is all about minimum and viable. If you find that one of your cornerstone features doesn't have the wow factor you thought, it's back to the drawing board, and that's okay. It's better to pivot now than to launch a full-fledged product or service that's missing the mark. So now that you're armed and ready to pick the key ingredients that'll make your MVP absolutely irresistible, we're not stopping there. Next, we're going to talk about how to actually build this thing, so get ready to roll up those sleeves. So now you're pumped, your idea is validated, and you've honed in on those essential features or elements that will make your MVP truly shine. But here comes a question that's confounded many as an entrepreneur. Should you build your MVP yourself or delegate the heavy lifting to someone else? And guess what? This question, it's not just for the tech wizards among us. It's universal, whether you're developing that course, launching a physical product, or offering a mind-blowing service. So let's talk about the build option. Building it yourself is definitely tempting. I mean, who knows your vision better than you, right? Plus, you save on expenses and keep full control. But, and it's a big but, it's time consuming, especially if you're learning new skills. Now let's talk delegation. Oh, the sweet relief of handing off tasks to someone else. This option can fast track your MVP and free you up to focus on other crucial aspects of your business. The catch? It might be a bit pricier and you need to manage people, which is a skill in itself. So how do you choose? Well, start by evaluating your strengths and weaknesses. Are you tech savvy? Do you love creating content? Or are you more of a big picture strategist who excels at managing teams? Now, once you have a clear idea of where your talents lie, align them with the needs of your MVP. Remember, the goal is to get your product or service out there, touching lives and making a difference as quickly as possible. Time is of the essence. And here's a golden nugget for you. There's no rule that says you can't mix and match. Maybe you create the core content of a course and outsource the graphic design. Or perhaps you design a physical product but partner with the manufacturer for production. See, it's not so black and white, is it? The decision to build or delegate is nuanced, just like the wonderful complexities of entrepreneurship. Okay, are you still with me? Because up next, we're diving into another hot topic, testing and iterating your MVP for maximum impact. Okay, so if you've been with me this far, you've got an MVP that's practically begging to be released into the wild. But wait, don't hit that launch button just yet. We've got one more essential pit stop to make on this journey, and that's testing and feedback. I mean, can you imagine cooking up a beautiful meal and then not tasting it along the way? The same goes for your MVP. Feedback is how you refine and perfect your product or service. Now, this part is universally crucial. Whether you're developing the next must-have physical product, curating a transformative digital course, or offering a service that changes lives, feedback is your best friend, but only if you know how to use it wisely. So step 1 is identifying your testers. These should be people who represent your ideal customer. And here's a pro tip. The more diverse this group, the better. Different perspectives can highlight different strengths and weaknesses that you may not have thought about. Next up is designing your feedback loop. Be specific about what you want to know. A vague, hey, what do you think, isn't going to cut it. Instead, ask targeted questions like, what was your first impression? Or did anything feel confusing or unclear? And don't forget to measure both the qualitative and quantitative data. You want to capture not just the what, but also the why. Surveys and analytics can give you cold, hard numbers, while interviews and open-ended questions can give you rich context. Now, finally, embrace the feedback, the good, the bad, and even the ugly. This is not the time for a fragile ego. This is the time for growth. And hey, a negative comment now can save you from a business catastrophe later. So listen, adapt, and iterate. So there you have it, folks, your foolproof guide to collecting valuable feedback for your MVP. Are you excited yet? Because up next, we're going to talk about the moment we've all been waiting for, launching that MVP. So we've covered a ton of ground, and you know what's even better than launching an MVP? Scaling it. Yes, you heard it. You've done the hard work. You've poured love, time, and energy into your MVP. You've gathered feedback, made the tweaks, and now you're ready to go big. Whether you're in the realm of physical products or information products, scaling is the delicious cherry on top of your entrepreneurial sundae. Now, the first thing to consider is, do you have a replicable model? If you've got a service, can it be productized? If it's a physical product, can it be mass produced without compromising quality? And once you confirm that your model can be scaled, it's go time. The next step is to look at your sales channels. Maybe you started by selling your product on your own website, but have you considered other platforms? Amazon, Etsy, or even partnering with retail stores could be the next move. Diversify your channels for maximum impact. Now let's talk about automation. Oh, the sweet symphony of machines and software doing the work for you. Could your sales process be automated? What about customer service? The more you can automate, the faster you can grow. And guess what? Automation isn't just for those with physical or digital products. Even coaches and consultants can use automation to book clients, manage schedules, or distribute resources. Automation is the invisible team member that never sleeps. Finally, let's touch on customer retention. Scaling isn't just about bringing in new clients. It's about keeping the ones that you have. Keep the feedback loop going, continue to innovate, and always, always keep your customer in mind. All right, scaling is an exciting phase in your entrepreneur journey, and it's where your MVP starts to pay off big time. But guess what? The learning never stops. Up next, we're going to explore some advanced strategies for keeping that momentum going, and trust me, you won't want to miss this. Now, if you thought we were already knee-deep in valuable insights, brace yourself because this next segment is a game changer. Now, I promised you some real-world success stories that cross multiple industries, and I'm so ready to deliver. First up, let's talk about an info product, Evernote. This company initially started out as a simple note-taking app. Their MVP was basic but functional, focused on syncing notes across devices. That simple yet effective MVP paved the way for a billion-dollar business. Now, what I love about the Evernote story is that they listened. They listened to what their users needed and built upon the MVP. Now, whether you're planning that course or any other product, the lesson here is to listen and be adaptable. Next, let's shift our focus to the world of coaching. Marie Forleo's B School started off as a small coaching program. It wasn't a grand over-the-top course with high production values at first. Marie focused on delivering quality content that made a real impact in her students' lives. Today, it's one of the most sought-after online business programs. And the key takeaway from Marie's journey is to always lead with value. Your MVP doesn't need to be fancy or expensive, it just needs to solve a problem. Remember, the most dazzling packaging can't make up for lackluster content. And finally, let's move to e-commerce, shall we? Take the story of Beard Brand. They started as a YouTube channel providing tips for grooming beards. Recognizing the gap in the market for specialized beard grooming products, they pivoted into e-commerce. Their MVP, a simple line of beard oils that I use to this day, and now they're a multi-million-dollar brand. The Beard Brand story teaches us the importance of niche markets. Sometimes the best MVP is one that serves a very specific audience. And guess what? There's no niche too small if it's yours. So there you have it, my friends, success stories that span the spectrum of business models. Up next, we're diving into some advanced strategies because as much as I love success stories, I know that you're here to create your own. So let's talk a little bit about one more essential piece, which is, guess what it is? It's you, your potential success story. Yes, you heard me right. It is your potential success story. We've talked about other people's success stories, but let's not forget the most important story of them all, the one you're in the process of writing, the one that's not a matter of if, but when. See, the thing about success is it's within your reach. It's not reserved for a lucky few. It's available to anyone willing to roll up their sleeves, get their hands a little dirty, and embrace the process. So let's get practical for a moment. What are the next steps for you after this episode? First, brainstorm your MVP. We've covered so much ground on this, from validating your idea to prioritizing features. Put those nuggets of wisdom to use. Next, set a timeline. Yes, we talked about doing it in a weekend, but even if you need more time, that's totally okay. The important part is setting a timeline and sticking to it. No more someday. Let's turn that into a specific date on the calendar. And last but not least, gather your support system. Entrepreneurship is not a solo journey, whether it's joining a mastermind, finding a business bestie, or being part of our very own Simple Business Club community. Make sure you have people cheering you on. Because let me tell you something, when you finally launch that MVP, when you start getting that first wave of customer feedback, when you make those first sales, it's going to feel surreal. But it's also going to feel oh so right, because my friend, you have worked for it. Your success story is just around the corner and it's bursting with potential. Remember, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. And I can't wait to hear all about it. So here's your, imminent success. And, we've covered a lot of ground. But before we wrap things up, I've got some absolute gold for you. And we're diving into those actionable takeaways, the universal resources and tools that you can use no matter what type of MVP you're launching. First on our list, no surprise here, is Trello. I adore Trello. It's your go-to for organizing your MVP product. You can also use Notion. That's something I've recently started using, where you can create boards, lists, and cards to prioritize your tasks and collaborate with your team if you've got one. Plus, they're free to get started. Next, let's talk about customer feedback. Google Forms is your friend here. It's free, easy to use, and guess what? You can start collecting invaluable feedback from your first MVP users in no time. Ooh, now on to design Canva. Whether you need to design social media graphics, PDFs, or even your MVP's logo, Canva is the tool for the not so design savvy among us. It's user-friendly and has a free version that offers a ton of value. Okay, here's one that you might not have thought of. QuickBooks or any other accounting software. Listen, when you start making those sales, and you will, you want to keep track of all the numbers right from the get-go. Trust me, your future self will thank you. And last but not least, I want you to grab a free downloadable checklist. And this guide is going to walk you through the steps we've discussed today and includes additional resources to make your MVP launch smooth as silk. Oh, my friend, these are resources that I not only recommend, but use in my own business endeavors. They are universally fantastic, no matter if you're launching a course, coaching program, physical product, or service. It's all about setting yourself up for success with the right tools from day one. And there you have it. These universal resources and tools are your MVP launchpad. Equip yourself with these and you're already halfway there. So what are you waiting for? Your MVP isn't going to launch itself. Now, I can't wait to see what you create, and who knows, maybe, just maybe, we'll be talking about your success story on a future episode. How cool could that be? Now, can you believe it? We just journeyed through a complete roadmap to launching your MVP in a weekend. I'm beyond thrilled for you because I know the magic is just getting started. And we've covered a lot today, everything from understanding why MVPs are so universally important across industries to breaking down those mindset barriers that may be holding you back. And let's not forget those actionable steps like idea validation, feature prioritization, building, testing, and yes, even scaling. Now it's your turn to put this in action because let's be honest, knowledge without action is just, well, it's a whole lot of nothing. I want to hear your success stories, your learnings, your aha moments. And before we say our goodbyes, I want to leave you with this. It's not the idea that's unique. It's what you do with it that makes it special. You've got a spark within you. Your MVP is the fuel to ignite it. So thank you so much for spending time with me today. Your presence, your energy, and your dreams make this podcast what it is, and I can't wait to meet you back here for our next episode. So keep dreaming big and hustling hard, my friend. Your journey is just beginning, and your MVP could be the ticket to a future you've only dared to imagine. Until next time, my bootstrap moguls, farewell.